an obstacle. And I overcame that. Not only did I overcome it physically, as you can see here, because physically is easily quantifiable, but I overcame it spiritually, and I also overcame it mentally. So I really want to go over everyone's obstacles, because we all have obstacles in life. And I all want us to be honest here. No one's going to be picked on, but I want everyone to be really, really honest with themselves. And if you look in your notebook, the first question that I pose is, define a problem. What's the definition of a problem? Right? And when I think of a definition of a problem, I think of something that's really insurmountable, almost. A problem is something that we've got to bust through. So I kind of switch the gears on a problem, and I call a problem an obstacle. And when I think of an obstacle, I imagine a track and field hurdle. And I imagine something that you could jump over, something that you could overcome. And if you can't overcome it right away, you could overcome it with training and practice and discipline and perseverance. So, in the packet that I have, I want you to jot down what you think a definition of a problem is, a definition of an obstacle is. And now, what I really want you to do is rate certain categories of your life. Now, we said that health, wealth, and relationships, right, or love, are all very, very important to us. And I want you to rate your own personal life in the category of health on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the lowest. I'm sorry, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. I want you to rate your relationships, and I want you to rate your financial status. And look to the right and copy. No, I'm kidding. So, how do we get, let's say, our health from a 5 to a 6, our financial status from a 7 to an 8, or our relationships and our love from perhaps a 2 to a 3, 3 to a 4? And that's really the question of why we're here tonight. I hope by sharing my story and what happened to me, you folks can overcome that, and you folks can take that to the next level. And we really have a group of very successful people. Everyone here are professionals. So we're dealing with successful people right off the top, okay? But I want to take those successful people and I want them to perform at their highest level. So when thinking about an obstacle, I think obstacles are good. And the reason why I think obstacles are good is because in overcoming your obstacle, you become a better person. Not only do you become a better person spiritually, you become a better person mentally, and you become a better person physically. I know that was true for me. And overcoming my obstacle made me the person that I am today. And in starting to analyze people's obstacles and how to overcome them, I asked myself, what's your state of mind? So right now, think about your own personal state of mind. Now, for example, your personal state of mind could be positive. Your personal state of mind could be negative. Your personal state of mind could be just broad. So what's your own personal state of mind? That's the question I have for you. Because it's in the state of mind that when the obstacle occurs, you will have a reaction. And the reactions to that certain obstacle, that certain event, if you will, right, are learned responses. They're preconditioned learned responses. And everything we learn is already in our unconscious mind. And in our unconscious mind, where do we learn from? We learn from parental examples. We learn from religious fear, right? We learn from elders and teachers instilling their beliefs upon us. So that's where we get all of our emotions, our ideas, our beliefs, if you will. And that comes at a very, very young age. And including in that your unconscious mind are also your fundamental needs. And we all have pretty much the same fundamental needs, right? We've got the need for acceptance. We have the need for love. We have the need for power. We have the need for significance. And we all have those needs. And inside our unconscious mind are our beliefs. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but they're all learned. We've got our fundamental needs. Some of us have our need for power. Some of us have a need for greed. Okay? And it's all learned. And then all of a sudden, something happens, right? Something happens in our life. An event, an obstacle, if you will, a trigger. And that's the real word I'd like to use. And that trigger happens. So for me, I had a very, very significant trigger. And my trigger was instant. And in overcoming my obstacle, I really had to figure out, there was no one to talk to. There's no book that I could read. There was no quick fix. So it was something that I developed over the course of years to recondition my own mind. And what I call the theory is cognitive reconditioning. And in cognitive reconditioning of my own thought process, it changed my life. And it changed my life immediately. Because it's a state of mind. And the first part of cognitive reconditioning of your thoughts, cognitive reconditioning of your mind, is identification. Identifying the issue, identifying the problem, identifying the trigger. Is the trigger manifested from ourselves, or is the trigger a manifestation of an outside source? Now, I gotta tell you, I go out on a limb. Most of our problems, we cause ourselves. Most of them. I know death and accidents and things like that, perhaps, we didn't do. But most of the issues we have, most of the obstacles we have today are caused by ourselves. We attract those obstacles to ourselves. We attract that negativity to ourselves. So the very, very first step in changing that state of mind is the identification. And it brings to mind, if you guys ever heard of the Serenity Prayer. And the Serenity Prayer goes something like, Lord, grant me the serenity to change the things, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And that's a wonderful prayer. And I heard that prayer since I was a little boy. And really, in that prayer, it captures the essence of the first step of the identification. Because once you identify where the trigger, where the event comes from, it can take you to the next place. And the next tool in cognitive reconditioning of your state of mind, okay, is recognition, or conscious realization of the issue. Knowing that, and this is key, guys, knowing that the issue, knowing that the event, or the trigger itself, is not good, it's not bad, it's not positive, it's not negative. It's all the perspective on what you throw at it. It's all the perspective on how you see the event, which makes it so, because you're emotionally attached to the event, okay? Unfortunately, Dr. Tumanolo, I'm going to use a little doctor example, but Dr. Tumanolo comes in, right? And the patient comes in and breaks his leg. And for that patient, I tell you, it's the worst day. Breaks his leg, and it's trouble. But for Dr. Tumanolo, he looks at it as an experience to help someone. So for Dr. Tumanolo, perhaps it's a positive experience because he's able to help someone. He's able to use his skill as a physician and to help someone to change their lives. For the poor patient, that patient, my goodness, perhaps they're going to be cast for 6 to 8 weeks and their summer is ruined, right? But that's the point I'm trying to make. It's not the event that has, in and of itself, a positive or negative label. It's the labels and the ramifications that we give the event. So for me, I had an obstacle. I had a terrible obstacle. And if I wasn't able to look at it from a better point of view, a more positive point of view, then perhaps I wouldn't have been successful. Perhaps I wouldn't have walked. Perhaps I wouldn't be where I am today. And the third part of that is the analysis. And the analysis is taking the event, taking the trigger, right? Finding out where it's from. We all know that right now. Realizing that it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Understanding that it's neither positive nor negative. It has to do with our emotional attachment to the event. And then the analysis, right? Taking a step back from the thought process. Saying to yourself, well, I'm not necessarily my thoughts. I am who I am. I'm a spiritual being. I'm not my obsessive thought. Now, if the event is a good thing, then hey, it's a good thing, right? Falling in love, making a lot of money, losing weight. But where we get tripped up is in the event that the trigger is a bad thing. And if the trigger is a bad thing, then right away we're negative in our minds. And it doesn't have to be like that. Because in changing your life is changing your state of mind. So, in doing your analysis of the situation, and guys, this becomes almost instantaneous. The more you practice it, the better you get at it.